Welcome to the Kuno podcast today, everybody. We've got Cullen Wallace with us. Cullen, how are you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Marie. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. So Cullen is currently in Seattle and he is a mindset guru, I'm going to say, because he's been through a lot and he's gone back to the beginning, tried to figure out how he fits into everything and has talked a lot about mindset. So over to you, Cullen. Do you want to give us a brief kind of overview of what kind of things you do and where you're going with it?
Sure. I had suffered from a severe health scare a few years back, and it got me to thinking about the purpose of my life and why I'm here and what my life really is supposed to mean. And it got me into doing a lot of exploring and a lot of reading, listening to a lot of podcasts, and attending webinars on mindset and growth and who we are. And then I started doing a lot of writing. And at first it was I was just putting back out what I had been reading. And then I started to paraphrase a little bit. And now I do all my own. And I draw inspiration from various places, but the thoughts come from me and from my head. And it is all about putting yourself in a good frame. I think we all know that we find what we seek. And if we seek bad things, we can find bad things around us all the time. But if we seek positive things in our world and positive things in ourselves, we can find that as well.
So one of the questions that I've got for you is, when you kind of go through a life-changing event and then you realize that you have to, you come back from that and you might have different views on where you want to go from there and what success means to you. How can you kind of realign yourself in your life to then start to move forward successfully?
Well, I think that's a good question because I think that it's, for a lot of people, we spend a lot of time chasing what we think is success based on what other people tell us success should be, instead of defining that for ourselves. And I think that's one of the key things that set your life up to be successful is, how do you define that for yourself? And it's a question we all have to define for ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. And we end up, there's an old saying that the worst thing in life is to climb the ladder of success and find out it's leaning against the wrong building. And I think that's what happens to a lot of us is we get halfway up the ladder and we realize this isn't what I want. And so I think that's part of it is doing a lot of exploration yourself of what do I want for my life and what do I want? Because it's a one trip and we don't get to go backwards. So you need to define out what do I want my life to mean? What's my purpose here? For me, after doing a lot of exploring, I think my purpose is it's service. And I think regardless of your spiritual beliefs, every major religion has service as one of its major tenets. And my mission in life is to help people live a better life. And I do that in a variety of ways, but that's what brings me joy. And that's how I define my success, is by helping other people be successful in their lives.
Something that you said earlier as well really kind of caught my eye. You said, so people who are successful, they have the same issues and the same problems. And I think we see that with, celebrities can end up having drug addictions and they can even commit suicide and these kinds of things. And, intuitively we look at these people and say, well, you've got everything, you've got all the money, you've got the houses, you've got the cars, how can you not be happy? So do you think maybe some sort of issue with the way that we maybe equate success with money or fame, and what we should really be equating success with individually that suits our own individual lives?
Absolutely. And it's I've read a lot of books on Eastern philosophy. I do a lot of meditating, and you look at the people in that world and they find a lot of peace in a very simple life. And I have friends of mine that I grew up with, people I went to college with, that are financially extremely successful in their lives, but they're not happy. And they're chasing things you can never catch up to. And I think that's one of the problems we have in Western society is we do equate success with money, with possessions. And the problem with that is, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but the problem with chasing that is that there's always someone who has more money, there's always someone who has a bigger house, there's always someone who has a better car. And if you're trying to be the best at that, you're always going to be chasing something you can never catch.
What could we do to kind of, because I think the mindset there is really difficult to get out of when you're constantly chasing money, because it's a moving target. You kind of get conditioned to keep on chasing that. If you then wanted to take your mindset out of that and direct it towards something else that maybe society told you wasn't as valuable, but maybe you thought, maybe having kids and having a family, that is success, for some people. How might I go about changing my mindset to kind of recalibrate it almost?
I think that, again, you go back to how you define success for you and what you want your life to mean. And then you have to be disciplined to say, this is my purpose in life. And if money and cars and that stuff comes as a side benefit, that's okay. But my purpose is to be involved in my community. My purpose is to be involved in my church. My purpose is to be a great parent, and to keep that as your main focus. And I do think that our life is defined by how we connect with other people. Regardless of what you do, it's those connections with other people. None of us are solitary beings. We're not meant to be that way. Human beings are designed to connect with each other, and how we connect with each other makes the difference in the level of our life. And I think those are the things that are important. Is you see people as someone that you connect with, or someone who's helping you get where you want to go.
If you were to kind of pick between them, would you say that it's more fulfilling to have the goals of, being a better person and connecting with people over the, I just want fame, success, and money?
Well, as you said, we all know the stories of people that have fame, success, and money, and are miserable and have a lot of demons that they're trying to tamp down, whether it be with drugs, be it alcohol, be it with seeing a counselor, finding some way to tamp down those demons, because that isn't what brings you happiness at the end of the day. And I'm a big believer in what you think about when you shut the lights off is what your life is about. And I think if you ask those people honestly, when they shut the light off, they're not thinking about making another dollar. They're thinking about, how do I connect better with other people?
I notice as well that you have been for a long time writing different quotes and different motivational, kind of like a blog on your Facebook. Um, how do people kind of react to this? Do they find it helpful and fulfilling to have this kind of positivity in their life every day?
I do. I've got nothing but positive feedback. I write. I don't write every day, but I probably write 360 to 362 days out of the year. And I know that when I started it, I never dreamed that I'd still be writing it. This has been going on for 3 years. I'm still writing it every day, and I never dreamed that I would have the impact that I've had. But if I go 2 days in a row without writing, I get people who will direct message me wanting to make sure that I'm okay because I'm not writing, and they think something must have happened to me. So that's impactful. And then having people that tell me that, especially parents who tell me, I love what you write, and I give it to my kids to read every day. And I don't have any children. I've spent a lot of time working with kids, but I don't have any of my own. And it's very emotional to me. It really impacts me that they're giving to their kids, and they're saying, you're helping these kids have a better life. And that really impacts me a lot.
I think during this time as well, where we're not really having that connection with people so much, it must be really a key thing for people to be able to receive positivity in this manner and be able to help children, because children are the ones that can really suffer most without this human contact. So if they're finding, happiness from this, you must be really, really helping people with these messages that you're putting out.
Well, and it's funny that you asked that, Marie, because that's one of the things that I think is, again, not having kids, I don't know, but I do reach out to my friends that have, especially school age kids. Kids are still in the house, and how are they doing? Because your social circles are so important when you're a kid, and to have that taken away, and to not have school, and to not be able to get out and to associate with your friends, I think has got to be really hard on kids. And I think when you have the hormones and you're going through growth spurts, and to not have that social interaction's got to be really hard. And I think one of the things that I am really conscious about in my writing is I figured out pretty early on in this that, as you and I talked before we got on air, one of the paradoxes of being human is we're all unique, but yet we're all alike. And we all deal with 95% of the same stuff. And so I always try and frame everything in we and us, because I think we all go through a lot of the same stuff. And I think for kids, especially that are having a hard time right now, it's nice to know that, hey, I deal with this every day too. I deal with anxiety. I deal with imposter syndrome. I deal with questioning my worth. And I'm in my 50s and I go through this stuff. So I think it helps to know that I'm not alone in this, that other people are suffering through this too.
I think that's a really fundamental thing that you bring up, because I think people can end up feeling like they're very much alone. And just
Right.
to know that they're not is the first step in being able to kind of, rebuild their mindset towards a positive life. And you're really giving people at this point the message, you're not alone. And I know that you are wanting to write a book on this as well. And
Right.
I also know that you're saying that you've got imposter syndrome. However,
Right.
I think that if you're doing such an amazing thing for, not only the community, but people in the world, because Facebook's a global platform and this is where you're sending these messages out, I think that, you've got every right to, and you should go and write this down, because it's obviously really, really helping people.
Right. No, and it's one of the things that I think that, especially when we're struggling with our mindset, is we feel like, life is beating us down, and we think in our head that nobody has ever dealt with what I'm dealing with. This is the worst that any human being has ever dealt with. When we step back away from that and really think about it, we know that isn't true, but we think that when we're going through it. And so I think it helps to say, hey, you know what? Everybody deals with this stuff, and we all go through it, and we all, you can come through the other side if you just keep taking a step forward. And that's, some days that's hard to do, but you all just take a step, and tomorrow you take another step, and you just keep stepping. And that's how it works.
I'm so impressed with kind of the positivity that you put that out there, especially after everything that you've personally been through and the things that you see others go through. The fact that you can be so positive and you've got this real kind of, you base it on the Eastern philosophies to kind of cement that in. I think that's such an interesting way to look at things, and the fact that you can kind of keep doing this every day is just amazing, really.
Well, thank you. And 2020 was the roughest year of my life, because of COVID was certainly a part of that. But I went through a divorce that I did not plan on having, didn't see coming. My parents, who are both in their 80s, are going through some major health challenges, and that's been tough. I lost some very good friends, and I don't. People ask me where I come up with this stuff, and sometimes I don't really know. It just comes to me. But the analogy I used is, it's like going out to eat dinner. If you decide we want to go out to eat dinner, we have a couple of options of where we can go. And the richer the experience and the nicer the food, the more expensive it's going to be. Now, you can go down to the neighborhood pub and get a bite to eat, or you can go out to a 5-star restaurant and get a bite to eat. When the bill comes, there's a big difference in what you pay too. And I've had a very rich life. I've met fantastic people. I come from a great family. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. So when the bill comes, it's kind of hard to complain about what you're paying for the rich life you've had. And that's kind of how I view it. And 2020 was a big bill to pay, but I was happy to pay it because I've lived a very rich life, and I've enjoyed it.
Well, Cullen, we're coming to the end of the interview, and I can't, express enough how excited I am about this book coming out, because I'm really keen to see it get published. So I'll be watching and waiting for it.
Okay.
Would you like to tell our viewers and listeners where they might be able to find you on social media?
Sure. I am on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll include links to that as well. But then I also have a website that's just cullenwallace.com, and I'm a real estate broker for my day job here in Seattle. But I update it every week with my writings from the last week, so those are on there as well. So I'm pretty easy to find in social media channels.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today, Cullen, and I wish you the best of luck with everything in the future.
Thank you. And the pleasure was all mine. I really appreciate your time and what you're doing, because this really is going to help a lot of people. So thanks, Marie, very much.